Değerli konuklar, SAHA Academy Talks'a hoş geldiniz.
Welcome to Film Academy Talks. We will be listening to the speech titled, the project title, Beyond Simulation. Emrecan Artu. Welcome everyone, my name is Emrecan Artu. I work at STM. Since 2010, I'm in the defense industry. I was working on the commander technologies, and now I am working in the cyber section. Please do not get intimidated by the long title. We will be talking about the cyber drills. It is a very important issue, and in our country it's gaining traction, and the TSK has a specific section that is focusing on this topic, and you can think of the cyber realm as the war zone of our era, because we have seen this in Ukraine and in other wars going on, and the cyber drills are taking a great part in these wars, so we have to be prepared. And when we look at the situation, in order for us to create a cyber range or cyber drill environment, I am putting forward what we need to do in this project, in this study that I made. First of all, we have to create a map, we have to create a roadmap for ourselves, because cyber ranges are not really well researched in our country. We don't really know a lot about cyber in general, and there are not many legislations, or in the legislation there are not many things related to cyber. But if someone infiltrates, for example, in order to attack, they can remain inside, infiltrating your facilities, for example. And in China, for example, we have seen examples like this, and it takes years to reveal actually the infiltration and these types of things. So it is really important for us to know our roadmap, what we want to do, what is our aim, what personnel do I have, how do I position them, until what point do I push them forward, and of course in terms of the institutions and also in terms of the country itself, we need to pay attention to these. After putting forward the roadmap, we know where we are, we know where we want to go, and then I have to make a decision, because you will see in the other slides, to create the infrastructure for a cyber field or range or environment, there is not a single way, single path that you can follow. It can actually shape based on your needs, so it can be custom made. So you need to make a decision or a series of decisions. So that's why we created the decision matrix. And ROI strategy, return of investment strategy, is also important, because a company invests in this, and this is showing you when the return of this investment will come back to you. And as an investment, when you look at the institutions, they are doing these investments, making these investments, and you have to know where you are going, and you have to experience a lot of things. You are seeing this currently, actually. As STM, we created CTF competitions. I can define them as capture the flag competitions. It is one of the simplest competitions in cyber field. There are questions in the cyber environment. Forensic analysts, etc., people who get into this competition, they try to infiltrate the systems or analyze the data, trying to find out some things, or open source intelligence is another part of this. In any part of the world, we ask questions that actually direct these people towards that point anywhere in the world, and they are trying to collect data and analyze this data to find out where this point is. And when you are doing these, you have to think about your traceability, your if you are being followed. Of course, this is how we are using these systems. For example, if you go into an environment like this and you infiltrate, or you have to intervene, and you can see, you can notice that there is data being extracted at that moment, and at the same time you need to make sure that you don't let the attacker get away. You have to know the origin of where they came from, the attackers came from. So these are the things that you cannot experience in real life, but in cyber environments you can actually experience this. So this is a teaching moment, and as an attacker, from attacker's point of view, for example, if you want to develop a cyber uh, attack point, you have to think about other things, and you have to work hard in order to gain the experience. And there is this cyber resistance here, and we are receiving trainings, and we are organizing the competitions like the CTFs. But the trainings and the gap between the trainings and the real life, there's a huge gap, and we have to know where our personnel is, at what level they are operating in, and at which position we need to position our personnel at. We need to be really aware of these things. And this part of the study is a simple study, simple data part. Who are using the cyber ranges in the world? It is mostly used in the training area, and the ranges that are used for the trainings, these are for some special platforms, and in order to test them, these are the environments or cyber systems, virtual systems that are developed for this purpose. And in Turkey we have a lot of universities that are creating these platforms, for example ship platforms, or if you develop a product, for example, in the platform, cybersecurity is really important as per our ministry. Sorry, the Directorate of Defense. You have to make sure that you make the tests, you do the tests, and make sure that it is safe, it is secure, before the products hit the market. In a similar environment, you test your product against cyber attacks, for example, and after the development phase, for example, you will be able to develop your products as cyber resistant. So in the world, everyone is interconnected with tactical data connections or satellites, or whether it is remote or interoperability is the important thing here. Everything is interconnected, and when we look at our end-to-end batteries, our tanks, our ships, for example, they will be also places where data is processed. The raw data will not go to data servers. So that's why they also need to be resistant. That is the reason why this drill or the ranges are usually used in the training areas. And we have to have this perspective as people in the defense industry, of course. And anytime you want, you can ask your questions, by the way. My name is Enes Ertaş. I'm working in Bursa in coding. We do passive screenings, and we go to our clients, but there are some really important infrastructure institutions such as hospitals They are open targets for attacks, and we are not usually taken seriously, and there is a lack of awareness in around the country. Is there any kind of a program or any effort towards increasing the raising awareness? TÜBİTAK works on this, and we have some publishings, and we are giving trainings. Everywhere we go, we try to raise our voice, and you are right, this awareness level increases very slowly, and unfortunately we have this thing, when something happens to us, something bad happens to us, we learn from that. Hopefully in cyber this will not be the case, but yes, you are right, we are moving very slowly in terms of awareness, and as you might agree, the weakest link is the people, and the chain is as strong as its parts, as you know. So if there is any kind of small mistake by one person even, you kind of have to be like a goalkeeper. But this is the case now. If you save, let's say, 10 goals, you are the hero, but if you let one go in the goal, then you will be damned. We have to talk to the institutions, with the TSK, with the military, and the Defense Technologies Directorate also works on the systems, and they are using the systems that are tested, and they go through some level of approval. So these are the things that are done now. And these are the data from 2029. Any kind of attack or any kind of data breach. By the way, not every attack leads to data breaches, but if there is a data breach, the average cost for the institution would be $4.45 million. So we are always saying that this could be just one mistake, but just one person's mistake, for example. And technically, another thing that we have to think about is the capabilities of people who are working in this area. And also, as per your question, awareness is really important. People should be aware of this area. We can still experience these things, some people just find a USB lying around and they are directly putting it in their computer. So if there's a lack of awareness, there could be an attack through that. And phishing emails, for example, even the simple problem creates a huge problem. For example, your salary documents, for example, even those are used for phishing. And there's another difficulty that we are facing, integration difficulties. We have a lot of certificates and like trainings, and we get them, but experiencing them in a near real world simulation or environment is not as easy as it sounds. We are actually trying to combine and bring together the attackers and the defenders together. So this is a difficult thing to do, so that's why it might create some integration difficulties and challenges. And also another thing that we have to talk about is how big of a need cyber is. And I will be touching upon two titles: the increasing level of complex threats. Less persistent threat is another term. They are doing really persistent attacks. When they infiltrate, you cannot easily remove them there, so they are almost permanent there. And also with the use of AI, these attacks become even more complex. And when you solve them, when you solve the problem, you see that it is really simple, but it is not easy to see when you encounter the problem first. When we are developing some codes and the we use the libraries, they can be open on the internet, or they can be our sources. Some repos, for example, that we use that are supposed to be inside, they are not registered in the open world, and they are registering it in the open world, and then they are using malwares, for example, to collect statistics. And a lot of the big companies in the world, they are using the same thing, but at the same time you notice that by just doing that simple step, these people might receive information, data about big companies. Just one person thought of doing that, and then it gives you an opening to infiltrate these huge companies. These threats might be caused just by someone, one person, thinking differently. And zero day is, when there's a problem and no one is noticing it. This is the thing that these complex threats, or the personnel that is working on these complex threats, actually work on. And also we are dependent on other countries in that sense, because the certification, for example, they come from abroad, and we want to go to their trainings, we want to benefit from their products, but we have to make it national. We have to create solutions that are specific to us. We have to have our own training so that we can create this talent pool, because the United States, for example, in order to work at the technical 3 level, it is an advanced technical level, they require maybe 8 different certifications. So we have to do the same thing in our country. For example, if you are going to work with the land forces, you will be needing these certificates. We need to also be able to say this. And also, yeah, there are some problems. There are some platforms where you can experience the real world, but it is a low number that we have right now, especially like the cyber ranges that I mentioned. Also, in the governance and sustainability, yes, we have our mature governance systems, but of course we have to think about the trainings and the cyber range platforms, and their integration is really important. A matrix should be created, and which personnel will be given which training. We have to be aware of this, and of course we have to be adapting to the changing needs, because our priorities and needs change really rapidly, both around the world and in companies and institutions. So that's why we need to be able to create new scenarios. We need to be able to create awareness really in a fast pace. And the people who develop these types of platforms or create questions, or anyone who competed in these platforms, will know that it is really, really difficult to create a scenario, especially if you want a really big pool with hundreds of machines and near real scenarios and human-like scenarios, and network traffic is being done here. You have to be really good at creating this environment. And when a person come here and say that, there's a network that I'm now in, and there's some movement, etc., of course they have to hide themselves as well. So it is really important to have that real life scenarios in there. Beyond technical metrics, we have to have a measurability, because in competitions, it is not only about the scores that you get, how many attacks have you blocked, and how long did it take you. There was Lux Shields, for example, the NATO drill attacks have different scorings, because sometimes maybe it is really your turn immediately and you couldn't notice, but there are some different metrics where they evaluate the whole situation. And at this point, now let's take a look at what we are developing. We have two simple models, hybrid models. I can get into them. For example, in a cyber environment, when you develop this environment, you can create only virtual environments. You can create physical environments. You can also do emulation in the virtual environment, etc. Especially when you work on the control system, you have to simulate the data. You cannot get the data from the real world, or in terms of this command and control systems. You cannot get the data from the real world. You have to develop them in the virtual arena. So we are using hybrid models, and we also want to integrate them in the physical environments. And the specific scenarios. For example, there are some customized scenarios for the banking world, for the health sector, for IT, etc. And in the military systems as well, we need to be able to do this. And because these systems are also need to have that cyber resilience as well. So that's why we need customized scenarios for these different areas, and also for the military as well. Because I sent a request from HTTP, etc. This is not the case. There are some type of attacks, for example, that might come to the others. So we have to be also wary about the methods as well. Wherever we apply this, we also have to know our personnel's level, at what level they are, or where the attacks might come from, and how can I defend, or how can I train my personnel for the defense. So when we talk about the personnel and the positioning of the personnel and the capacities of the personnel, that's what I'm talking about. And also, we have some academic institutions. Every institution has a different needs. If you want to buy this for a commercial purpose or for an institutional purpose, what do you have to think about? And for academic institutions, what do you have to think about? We have analyzed all these. And here you can actually see education and teams. So they don't have the same teams. For example, in the academic world, we have this sharp distinction between red and blue. But when you go towards the institutions, public institutions, for example, we might need some arbitration in there. And in the drills that we do, when we divide the teams and when we give them the questions, the result is not 1 or 0. They have to report how they reach the solutions, how they reach the conclusions. But in the academic world, we don't need that kind of method, and also similarly in the commercial institutions as well.
This is an implementation plan of 12 months. If I'm to implement a cyber range implementation in my institution, this is how we proceed. In the first month, we make needs analysis, and then we understand the needs of the infrastructure. Then we come up with the infrastructure. We make the installations, and we provide training to the teams, how we are going to prepare the scenario, how we are going to manage them. We provide training for the teams. this lasts for about 2 months, then this is custom-made scenario. These 2 months are critical in a way that emulator, user simulation, network simulator, all the deployment tools, we assume that they are ready to use. We will get a software, let's say, and then I will come up with a scenario accordingly, or radar systems, then I will come up with a scenario which requires expertise. Then we start the operation on the 11th and 12th month in a mature platform. And last but not least, what are the acquisitions here? A cyber drill ranges. What do they bring about? Per violation saving is what you see on the screen. Testing in real environment is increasing the competency levels of the employees. They can monitor better, they gain wisdom. During the trainings, what we observe is that they become familiar with using the devices or the scripts in the cyber range environments. They're getting their hands dirty, and then their competencies are improved by making use of them. So you prevent the probable violations, you make savings out of it, and you improve and develop your skills and competencies. Fast intervention has pivotal importance. After the attackers come inside, they can stay for about 200 days, and you can decrease that amount of time. And I think it is one of the biggest contributions that people learn what they would do in a real attack. This is our architecture. Our automation system, Ensibula, is the automation device we have. This is our own platform. Our purpose is to focus on the military systems. The simulations, the emulations, we conduct them and we think about what might happen next. As you might know, America published a JEMA doctrine. Cyber electromagnetic applications have started to be discussed in Turkey as well. Cyber world, especially in the military platforms, not only the land attacks, but also electromagnetic attack. What are we going to do in such a case? This is beyond electronic warfare with the jammer or putting pressure on the signal, something. There might be something hazardous within the signal, and it might trigger a hazardous action and behavior. So it shows you those probable impacts, effects. Right now, this is what we are focusing on in our own platform. How about our future vision? Integration ecosystem. We would like to scale it up with our existing products, and also the integration with the military systems and the physical systems. We would like to widen it as much as possible, and we would like to automate it. Then adding the AI. So it would be very practical, to write the command in the native language and updating the scenario on a continuous basis. The AI is supporting us in that regard. Realistic environments can be prepared with the help of the AI. That's all. Thank you very much. If you do have any questions, I'll be more than happy. Thank you.